All right, it's a little under a year since the protests over George Floyd's death rocked Minneapolis. Now former police officer Derek Chauvin is on trial, but anger is rising once again after the police killing of yet another black man. What can we expect in the days and weeks ahead? Let's go live there now. CNN's Nadia Romero is standing by. Good morning, Nadia.
Good morning, Mark.
Well, obviously, last night was another night of protests, and it's tough to see 3 nights in a row now that things have perhaps gotten a little out of hand.
Well, Mark, and it's tough to see another black man being killed by police officers, and that's exactly what happened on Sunday with 20-year-old Daunte Wright being killed by a 26-year veteran of the Brooklyn Center, Minnesota Police Department, who says that she mistook her gun for her taser. So that's why she says she accidentally shot and killed Daunte Wright. His family says that's just not enough, and you can see there's this memorial that is just growing at the spot where Daunte Wright was killed by police on Sunday. People have been coming out laying flowers and candles and cards and really thinking of him, his family, and his nearly 2-year-old son left fatherless after the shooting. Now, just yesterday we heard from his family, and they met the family of George Floyd. Unfortunately, they share this unimaginable bond now of being the family members of somebody who was killed by police officers. And so they are being represented by the same attorney, a renowned civil rights attorney, Ben Crump, and they are asking for this police officer to be charged and convicted in the death of Daunte Wright. So people are upset because of that shooting, believing that it was not justified, believing that that officer should be fired and charged. And that's why you see so many people out protesting, not just here in Brooklyn Center or Minneapolis, but really happening all across the country, in Portland and Seattle. People are upset seeing yet another police shooting that they do not believe was justified. So we had about 60 people in Brooklyn Center who were arrested overnight after clashing with police officers. Police officers were seen in video armed, following protesters, making sure that they would disperse, using flashbangs and other methods to get them to leave that gathering. So we saw yet another night of protests, some of those protesters erupting into violence. And today we could get another step in this investigation. We could have an announcement from the Washington County prosecutor who says sometime today he will make a decision on whether or not to charge Officer Potter.
And obviously this is, I guess you could say, the perfect storm. All this is the Derek Chauvin trial is going on. We have another incident happening at the same time. It's almost as though it's happening all over again.
It is the worst case scenario for people who live in this community, seeing their community ripped apart, not just by the violence and the protests and some of the looting that's happened, but emotionally. People who live here, and I have family who live here in Minneapolis, and when you talk to people, they have been on edge since the death of George Floyd, and they were on edge knowing that this trial was going to happen and that there would be this international attention right back here in Minneapolis watching the Derek Chauvin trial. And so there was already heightened security, fencing, barricades, National Guard troops that were coming to Minneapolis because they were worried about protests and crowds gathering due to the trial. And now you have another black man killed by a white police officer 10 miles away from the courthouse. So it's another blow to this community and to business owners who were trying to get back to a sense of normal. Some of them just really opening up again, starting their businesses after the riots that happened this summer. Now they're boarded up again, shutting down. You also had COVID-19 that shut down those businesses during the pandemic. Now you add in another layer of potential unrest that can continue, not only due to Daunte Wright, but because we should get the verdict soon in this case over the next couple of weeks. A lot of anxiety, a lot of tension surrounding both incidents that are going on in the city.
Certainly a very important discussion. Nadia Romero, thanks for joining us this morning.